Fire him! Shot him!
Everybody knows these criminals are called lanyards. They are doing it with the support of the police divisional commander, ACPJ. In this area, we call him the lanyards commander.
Because we have documents to show that Chief sold the land to us.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here at Newsfile, we put Ghana first. This is your very special edition. So I'm back to you, Mr. Kwame. So what will I do or not do and get into trouble, get into jail by this new regime?
One of the massive innovations introduced under this regime is the sanctioning regime. In the old system, Section 34 of the Land Registry Act of 1962, Act 122, it had a very short section on sanctions for certain infractions, fraudulent transactions in land, in Section 34. But that law was not vehemently applied. Now, this new regime sets out sanctions from Section 11, 12, 72, 236, and 277. Now, there are different targets of the sanctions. The Section 12 sanctions are very prominent and intended to deal with the land guard issues. So the Section 12, you can see clearly the objective of the Section 12.
Okay.
Where it starts talking about protection of land and land interests. Now, if you look at what they have done with Section 12, it's talking about someone who doesn't have an interest in land, who goes onto land to extort money from someone who has an interest in the land, or to prevent someone who has an interest in the land from developing the land, or personally or uses another person to use force or violence to prevent someone who has interest in the land from accessing, going to the land. That person, upon summary conviction, is going to prison for at least 5 years and not more than 15 years. So, and the descriptions here are clearly the activities of land guards. That's what they do.
And that one, there's no option of a fine.
There's no option of a fine.
Prison straight.
There's straight to prison. Now, for most Ghanaians, this should come as a very welcome news. But, I will add, but 16 years of work has produced this law. Those who have been instrumental in the passage of the law are not going to be the ones who are going to go and arrest land guards and prosecute the land guards. So what we have on our hands now is, how do we enforce this Section 12? Particularly to be able to deal with the menace of land guards. All these people who are marauding around lands, collecting digging fees. I mean, all manner of things are happening across the country. And if we could be tough and set some examples on the ground, we'll have some peace of mind. So what we have is a very solid...
What do you mean, tough and set examples? Like
we have the property fraud unit of the police service. Now, I had the privilege many years back when it was being set up to do a week's orientation, trying to educate them on the legal sanctioning regime. For most of our police people, when there is a land matter and a criminal dimension emerges, if the matters go to the police, most of the time what they tell you is, if someone has come on your land, go to court. It's a civil matter. what we have to get them is to reorient our police, particularly with this new law, to let them fully appreciate the criminal components of land matters.
Right.
So that they will be able to address the criminal side and leave whoever wants to go and deal with the civil side to go to court and deal with the civil side.
Okay.
So that's and if, for example, you know that all the criminal cases are prosecuted in the name of the Attorney General.
Right.
If, for example, the Attorney General feels that maybe we should give some prominence to these cases, the AG can take up and get state attorneys to prosecute infractions of this law.
Okay.
You know, it's something that the AG can take up because the police are acting as agents for the AG. So there is no problem if the AG says, for now, let's AG's lawyers deal with the prosecution of these kinds.
And the example that Latif brings to us, the commander, police commander, has now actually been turned into the commander of land guards.
Yes, you know, the reason is this. When these land guards go on the ground, together with those who use them, they are able to corrupt the whole world. And, you know, for some reason, Ghanaians like land. So, if you are the commander in some place and somebody gives you 10 acres for your support, I mean, you have to have some high moral standard. Otherwise, you will not be able to resist.
Okay. So the criminal sanctions, I want to ask to exhaust that in the next 2 minutes and then pick people's calls and their messages.
If you go to section 72, we have talked about 72. And the idea of concealment of material encumbrances, you know, where it's targeting the grantor, the grantee, if in the public offices. But if you go to 236, 236 has to do with the protection of public lands, particularly. 236 is a very comprehensive arrangement which says if you go to a public land and you stay for upwards of 12 years, the limitations statute will not apply to the republic. You see, the old system...
The question of adverse possession.
Exactly. So, what this law is saying is an attempt to codify the decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Memuna Moody and MP.
Right.
Where the Supreme Court said, even though the Limitations Act says it should apply to the republic as if it were an ordinary individual, the Supreme Court, Justice Datiba, said we shouldn't apply it to the republic in that manner.
Okay.
So what Section 236 has done is to say to the whole world that going forward, adverse possession does not apply to the Republic of Ghana.
Okay.
Which means if you go on government land for 1 million years, anytime the Republic needs the land, the Republic will throw you off. And they've now made provision for sanctions for going onto public land. They will give you notice of at least 21 days to vacate the land. If you don't, the state or its agents are empowered to take you out of the land and confiscate all the properties that are on the land.
All right. Okay, very interesting.
And then lastly is 277, which sets out the general offenses. So 277 is devoted to offenses, and it sets out several offenses, several infractions under 277.
Right.
No, for public officers who falsify records. So an officer of the Lands Commission who falsifies records will also go to prison. Anybody who grants land that he has no authority to grant, a chief or otherwise, will also go to prison or pay a fine.
But this provision is not exactly new. Why is it that chiefs who have been doing these things and all these fraudulent characters who have been duping people's hard-earned, earnings have not suffered?
It is partly, like I said, the idea of land cases are civil. So we have to do a reorientation. And also, for some reason, we say that the chieftaincy institution is revered. And if you arrest a big chief, there are some chiefs are big, you know, there are some are bigger than others. So for the smaller chiefs, you can deal with them somehow. But some big chief, if you arrest the chief who has influence on outcome of elections, you think you can prosecute. You know, it's not that easy.
In Norway,
you know, there is what we call prosecutorial discretion, isn't it?
Right.
The AG has prosecutorial discretion.
In Norway, the prime minister has been fined.
Yes.
Has been fined
For violating COVID.
for violating COVID protocol. Their law says that you should not have a gathering of more than 13 people, more than 10 people. She organized a birthday party with 13 people.
Okay.
The prime minister has been fined, and it was the public broadcaster that spoke about the matter, and they got the prime minister fined.
Oh.
We say we're a country of rule of law. Why can't we do the same?
No, you see, but you should also tell Ghanaians that huge difference in the legal structure of Norway and Ghana.
Okay.
The president of the Republic of Ghana, whilst he's in office, is not amenable to criminal proceedings.
Yes.
That's our law.
So he makes the laws and can break them.
Yes. He is not amenable. So
Okay.
you can't do what they've done to the Norwegian president,
Okay.
to the president of the Republic of
All right.
Ghana.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to take the calls, but okay, say that what you want to say quickly.
I think what this law sought also to do is that, in addition to criminal sanctions, sometimes it gives right for individuals to begin civil actions to prevent some of the things talked about.
Right.
So that in section 12, an individual can go to court to stop somebody who is encroaching on his land. And then section 2, 3, 6, where government agency fails to prevent someone encroaching on public land, an individual can go to court under 12 to stop the encroachment if the public bodies fail to take action to stop the encroachment.
Great. Thank you very much. This is Newsfile, and I've got 3 lawyers who know their stuff, and all the messages you have been sending in and commending them for what is going on. Now, let's have your questions, and they will answer them. Who do I have first? Hello, Ebenezer. You're calling from the Volta region. Let's hear your question.
Okay. When a chief forcefully land that belongs to the clan, members of the clan live on the clan land, and the chief, in the name of being a chief, sells part of the portions of the members' land to a developer, and the developer has started working on it. Can that clan member destroy and pull down the development of the developer? Would that be a crime?
Okay, thank you. Let me take my next. Hello, Henry. Henry, you are calling from Ardenta. Let's hear your question.
Yes, Samson. Good morning.
Morning.
And good morning to your panelists. I'm very happy you're talking about land issues here. Samson, my name is Henry. And what is happening in this country is sad. The long and short of it is that I have a land in the Ebri section, a village called Amanfro. And these days, what is happening is such a peaceful place, very peaceful. But the land, these developers are showing interest in the area. And what they are doing now is that they falsify documents and then go to the police headquarters. And Samson, what I'm telling you, I can give you names of commanders in police headquarters, the fraud office, and then they give the police protection. Samson, it's so sad that I was called by my cousin who is on the land. And when I got there, the police will not allow me to get to my land, a land I've owned for 30 years and have leased for 90 years.
Okay. Sorry about that, but Mark, and please,
please
try and give us a summary quick so that we can get you the answers as crisp as possible. Hello, Mark. Let's hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm calling from Mr. My name is Mark.
Okay.
I bought land about 10 years ago, and I've been on the land since then. I have started developing the land, and just somebody from nowhere came and claiming that the land belongs to me. I have documents registered from land commission, everything. Even recently, I even took a surveyor to take their machine to go and survey the whole land again too. And then I sent the results to land commission to go and do another search, whether to ascertain that the land has been sold or has not been sold to another person. But when I did that, the land still belongs to the person I bought the land from. And this lady is saying the land belongs to her, so she has taken me to court. So what do I do?
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Your matter is pending in court. Joshua from Ho. Hello, Joshua.
Hello.
Yes, let's hear you, Joshua.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I just want to commend you and the Joy TV for what you are doing today. These are the things we need to hear and know, rather than everyday political issues that are not bringing any development to we, the individual citizens. Discuss the crises that affect us directly. God bless you, and God bless Joy News.
All right, thank you. I'll take my very final call for the first segment of question and answer period. Time. Yes, who's my last caller? Okay, so you forgive me. Let's hold it on here and take the three questions. Okay, so let's start with our first caller from Volta region.
The forcible.
Yes, chief taking clan land and selling it to developer, and they want to know if they can go and drive the developer out.
It depends on where in the Volta region. If he's talking about the Hohoi area, for example, the chiefs wouldn't have any land to start, because there's a case called the Republic against Regional Lands Officer who S. Particular in which the court said in that area of the country there are no stool lands. So if he is in that region, that corridor of the Volta region, there are no stool lands, and the lands will belong to other clans or families.
Okay.
The part that is scary is when he says, can you go and pull down the pillars? Something, generally, the law permits some reasonable amount of self-help, generally. But the law sees that as an exception to the rule, not the rule itself. So I would not recommend that he should go start pulling down houses and pulling down pillars, even if he believes he is right, because the violence could beget more violence. He should take advantage of the law, and I would say he have to go to the police. But somebody would then say, so if you find armed robbers climbing your wall and coming into your house, and you have a gun, will you wait and go to the police? My answer to this gentleman is he shouldn't take the law into his own hands.
All right.
Because if we encourage that, we are encouraging a certain level of lawlessness.
Right. Yes, if I can get you to take the second question from Henry. He says he's got a land in a brewery and developers appear to be conniving with the police to deprive him of the land that he has had title to for 30 years. What should he do?
A brewer, it's a matter of the ownership. In those places are not within, unfortunately, are not within the title registration districts, which is mainly in Accra. So even when you register your land with the Lands Commission, it doesn't mean your landlord is really the owner of the land. In fact, even the title registration area, I was looking at the law. Fortunately, Section 182 tries to address that issue. It says that before land is demarcated and sold, the landlords should register their whole allodial title before they start selling. so that when somebody comes to you to buy the land, he is safe. He knows no other landlord is coming to challenge him.
Okay.
So the issue of this interference, we have to investigate whether it is from a lawful owner of the land who is trying to interfere with his enjoyment of the land, or just a trespasser.
Okay.
This, from the first view, is very difficult to tell.
Right.
Sometimes different landowners test over the land.
So you conclude your advice by saying he should you should seek counsel.
You should get probably a legal advice on the matter.
You can find a lawyer around where you are, nearest to you, and they can give you some advice specific to your issue, because you would present all the documents to the lawyer as well. Did you want to say something about that?
No.
Okay. Then there is Mark. Mark, who says he has had this land for 10 years. He's talking about in Sawam.
He has registered it.
Yes, he's registered his interest. The search that he has conducted over a period shows that the land still belongs to the one who gave the land to him, and now somebody else is challenging the interest. So what should he do? Yes, Vera, are you on with us? What can you say to him briefly, Mark?
Yes, Mark. If Mark registered his documents, he said in Sawam, so I would want to believe it's deed registration at Kufuridua.
Okay.
If he registered his land and it was completed, then a search should disclose his name. If a search is still disclosing his grantor's name, it means that somehow the deed registration was not completed. And we don't know who has sold the land to this person who is now challenging him.
Okay.
So he would have to investigate further. And if he has the registered document, he may have to present it to the Lands Commission office to verify why it's not being plotted.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now let me take my next questions. Do I have Ernest from Takrady?
Yes.
Okay, Ernest.
My name is Ernest. Like you said, I'm calling from Takrady.
Okay.
My question is just simple.
Okay.
Is there any standard number of years within which, a family can make re-entry into a land that you have acquired? Because sometimes you buy a land, you see 5 years, sometimes you see 3 years, some other times you see like 10 years. Is there any standard number of years within the law that the family can make re-entry when you don't develop the plot?
Okay, so Kwame Jan will take your question for you, but let's take the next person, Michael from Achimota.
Yes, I just want to find out briefly about when a property is rolled to you, and the person who it's rolled to him pass on. Does his spouse have possession of it, or it goes back to the family?
Okay, so the one who granted the property to you is dead.
Is dead.
Okay, so you are asking whether what happens to you now?
When, for instance, my mother passes, yes, I pass on. Does it go to my spouse and children, or it goes back to the family?
Okay, so did you get that question? I want you to address it.
It's not clear at all.
Okay, can you ask the question again?
My question is, when, for instance, my mother will house to me,
wills property to you.
Yeah, to me.
Okay.
And then, God forbid, I pass on.
And you pass on?
Yes.
Okay.
Does it go to my wife?
Does it go to your children? Okay, I get that.
Is it that your mother, you pass on before your mother died?
Exactly. He predeceased the mother who has the will for him.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Okay. Another Michael. This Michael from
another Michael, yeah.
Dawenya. Michael, let's hear you.
I want to find out when you buy land for traditional landholders or landowners, and you are given a title, a deed, and those papers. What's the last document to hold as a landowner? What's the land document to be processed for you?
Okay, so Veronica will answer your question. What document completes your title to the land? All right, so I think we can pause here and take the answers. So the NS question,
NS is an interesting question.
Right.
We don't have specific legislation which says a family or a grantor can re-enter after 1 day or 2 days. The lease you have entered into itself is a contract.
Okay.
It's a contract which conveys to you an interest in land, but it is also governed by the rules of contract, as we know in contract law. So if in the contract it says 3 years, it is 3 years.
Okay.
But what my colleague Mr. Poku talked about earlier in this law is the provisions on the exercise of the right of forfeiture, you know, which has been fully exhausted. So there is no statute which says it is 2 years or 1 year or 3 years, but it is determined on a case-by-case basis according to the lease agreement.
Right. So you enter that agreement with your landlord, and the thing you are holding called the indenture, what you are familiar with as indenture, you see the terms are there. So if it says 3 years, then it is 3 years. But this new law says the person cannot immediately come and take it over. He must give you notice and ask you to, you know, remedy the breach you have committed. If you don't, then they take over. Okay, so Mike, whose mother has who says if he predeceases the mother, who made a will and give property to him.
So the gift, Mike, the gift will fail if you predecease your mother. Means that portion of the will fail because you are not alive. So other clauses of the will will determine who will have the property. It will not automatically go to your children. Okay. Because you should be alive to receive the property before it gets to your children.
Right.
Once you are not alive and you have died before your mother, either the residual clause or other provisions in the will determine where the property will go.
Okay. And in very good wills, there will be a clause that will suggest that the people that I'm giving these things to, something may have happened to them, and if that happens, this is what should happen. The last question was Mike in Dawenya, and your question was to is Veronica who is answering your question. What document completes your title as quote unquote owner of the land? Yes, Mrs. Rimpong.
Michael, it depends on where you are, where in Ghana you are. If you are within a land title registration district, then your document terminates or it's completed when you receive a land title certificate. However, if the area you are has not been declared as a land title registration district, then you register the indenture or the deed that has been given to you.
All right. So land title certificate is the last document you will get in some circumstances, and in other circumstances, you simply go and register the deed. That's the document you are having that shows that you have, as it were, acquired the land. Peter in Adenta, this is my last set of phone calls I'm taking. Peter in Adenta. Peter, let's hear you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. My question is, my father called me about 3 days ago at the north that our hometown chief who resides in Accra have come to say, even if me, his son, come to build on the land that he's staying on, which was left over marriage with our grandfather, we are going to pay a money to the chief before we can build. I want to find out, what should we do? Because I will not go and then be building on my own grandfather's land and you say I should pay money. This is a law from the chief. I want to find out, what should we do?
Which part of the north are you talking about?
This is Upper West region.
Upper West?
Yes.
Okay, so
where is that?
Where in the Upper West? Okay, we have lost him. So Tindana matters. Okay, yes, Yao, you are calling us from Accra.
Yeah, something. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful work you are doing today, and thank you also for the guests you have on the program. I have a small issue that I want answered for.
Be brief and go straight forward.
All right, thank you. My senior brother bought a land in Anya, I think in the year 1993, 92, thereabout. And he has a 3-bedroom house, foundation on it. Just sometime last year, someone has just popped up that the land also belongs to him. And it looks as if there's some conflict between Anya and Bawi. My brother is having documents from Anya, and the other party is having documents from Bawi. I want your guest to clarify for me. Who really owns the land? Because as it turns out, he's having documents. You're also having documents. So I don't know which is which.
Is there other people in Bawi asking him to come and regularize, as they always say? Is that what they are asking him, or they want the property back? Is that what they are saying?
No. For now, the one who claims ownership from Bawi is saying that it belongs to him and he wants to sell it. What surprises me, for all these years, this person has never shown up. All of it.
Thank you very much. My very last call is from Augustine. Augustine, you are calling from Siani. Let's hear you.
Yeah, please. I'm Augustine, calling from Siani. I bought a land from one of the chiefs in Siani, and they gave me this receipt, and there is this sheet that indicates some area scale of the land. So I just want to know whether this document is enough for me to be a landholder or.
Okay, thank you very much. So 3 questions as again. So we'll take them in that same order. Yes. So you start with Peter.
Peter, it's not easy to determine exactly where he is talking about. But if he is an indigene, like he's saying, his grandfather's land, he by custom is entitled to free use of a portion of the community land. And the judicial authorities supporting him are plenty. He has a case of Obli and Ama. He has a case of Amate and Hammond. All these cases are saying that a subject of a stew or a member of a family that has the allodial title is entitled to a free use of the usufruct. And this one, they are in possession. You know, because they have a house there already. So I think the chief will not be in a position to ask them to come and pay monies to them. He is the usufruct. He would have to render customary services to the stew. But I think that's about it.
I can't imagine getting back to the village and being told that I can't do anything on my father's property except I do this to the chief there. It won't happen. Okay, so yes, Yao. Yeah, he's talking about the Anya lands that they had for since 1993. There are about 3 bedrooms on it, and now it looks like Bawi and Anya have issues.
It appears that you said that you have a foundation on the land. I hope it also, you started the development that long in 1983. So there's a dispute between Anya and Bawi. We don't know who is the real owner. We don't have facts to determine who is the real owner. But what stands good for you is that you have developed. Once you have developed and you have been on the land for 80 years, close to 80 years, even if the ownership of Anya people feel, probably adverse possession, you can plead adverse possession, and maybe you can still keep the ownership of the land. But you probably will need legal advice if it comes to litigation.
Of course.
And don't give up the land.
So in all the situations, always, my good advice to you always is, see a lawyer closest to you. They will assist you. Now, Augustine's issue in buying, as it were, acquiring a land from a chief in Siani, getting a receipt and a plan to the land. So Mrs. Veronica from Point, his question is that all he needs to have good title to the land?
No, please. A receipt cannot be registered. So he requires a conveyance. That will show information, the name of the chief, his name, addresses, what interest he bought from a chief. So obviously it can't be a freehold because the constitution doesn't allow it. It obviously must be a lease. But how many years for the lease, how much rent is payable. All this information will be provided in the conveyance or the deed. And so he needs the deed that will be signed by the chief, signed by him with witnesses. Then he attaches the site plan and submits it to Lands Commission, first for concurrence and then registration.
Okay, thank you so very much. Let me now go on the wall, and we have just about some 5 minutes to close. And we received tons of messages just saying thank you to you guys for this education that you are receiving. Pelo Poku, I suspect Pelo Poku is related to the Sakofiosu. She says, "Oh, Daddy, baby girl is proud of you." Emmanuel Damkwa says, "There can never be a better time to have this discussion than now." Thank you, Emmanuel. Then, okay. Right, okay, thank you. Somebody is asking where to get the books, and then Gifty Osei is telling the person that you can get some at the Ghana Publishing Company. Right, so at the Ghana Publishing Company, that's where you get the law. That's where you get the law. Then, as for the books that I have referred to here, this one, Land Law, Practice and Conveyancing in Ghana, by Justice, that is a Justice of the Court of Appeal, Justice Dennis Dominic Ejay, which explains further this law. Can be found in any bookshop where legal text is sold, Legon or anywhere. This is Lawyer Kwame Jan's seminal works. This is Customary Land Interest. Over 1,000 pages. If you see my personal copy, I have tried to annotate it a bit. No really annotation, just coloring the portions that are good for me. And then Customary Land Management, Kwame Jan, also over 1,000 pages worth. But it's all good for all our learning. You could get them in any Legon bookshops, legal bookshops you find in the country. And often EPP and the rest of them, they will always hold copies. So our time is up. And we can't thank you enough. I have a question from a lawyer, and I think I should ask you that question. He wants me to ask you or Mrs. Veronica Frimpong. He says, aside inheritance and gift, is it practically possible in the face of the litany of judicial authorities to the effect that properties acquired in the course of marriage are presumed to be matrimonial property, to claim that property acquired by a spouse is his or her sole property in the absence of an express agreement to that effect? In the light of the judicial decision in the effect that matrimonial property are presumed to be jointly held, is it possible for a spouse to gift matrimonial property or even give same out in a will without the consent of the other spouse?
I know where he's coming from. You see?
And that's coming from Shumesi Randolph.
The point he has made is one of the issues that will have to be sorted out in that comprehensive review of the law.
Spousal.
Because what he has said technically, a man cannot will out the matrimonial property even to the children.
Okay.
From what he has said.
Right.
And that is a certain line of interpretation of the law. But if you interpret the law that way, it creates an absurdity.
Okay. All right, so also because of the constraints of time, I will just say thank you for now. There are too many messages, and Della Russell says, please say hi to Kwame Jan for me. Such a teacher, clear language, no technicalities. Thank you also very much for watching and for also listening, however you are doing, wherever you are. So this have been my guest. My guests have been lawyer Kwame Jan. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law, and he's an author in land texts as well. also is Kofi Owusu Opoku. Kofi Owusu Opoku is former Director, Public Invested Land Management Division, Land Commission, Ghana. And on Zoom has been Mrs. Veronica Frimpong, former Legal Officer, Lands Commission, and Head of Legal SIC Life Savings and Loans. Now, Kate Okreku will join Nathaniel Atto on sports, Gary Al Smith on right away after this show, so please don't go away on Sports Link. And tomorrow also at 2 p.m. join me on the Law Show as we deal with how to register a company in Ghana. I'm Samson Ladia Yanini. Have a good afternoon.